My friends, please listen and take this seriously. You all need to be prepared for election night. I'm talking batteries to charge your phone. Because if your phone is dead, we can't record all of the memes, all of the reactions from angry and outraged Democrats as Republicans sweep. I'm kidding, by the way. It's wishful thinking. I don't know if Republicans are going to win, but please be prepared in the literal sense. But yeah, I say this because, I had this troll post on Twitter where I said, take this seriously, my friends. You need to be prepared, et cetera, charge your batteries. Mark Halprin tells Tucker Carlson a Trump win would cause the greatest mental health crisis in U.S. history. And, I got to be honest, when I first saw this, I said, yeah, we get it. Trump derangement syndrome, people's brains is going to fry out of their skulls. We already saw how bad it was in 2016 with the infamous woman dropping to her knees and yelling no very loudly. You can hear the passion in my voice. And we can only imagine what that would lead to this time around. But there is something new here that I think you all should consider. I'm going to play this clip for you from Tucker Carlson's show and Mark Halprin, but I want you to keep something in mind as I play it and you hear what they have to say. It's a few minutes long. I don't know that I'll play the whole thing. In 2016, we had a generation of millennials that were in the voting block now. 2016 is 8 years ago, so I'm just about what am I, 30, right? 2016, huh? Crazy days, 8 years ago. And there's a lot of young people. They didn't participate bigly in the elections. I mean, there was Occupy, but it was Obama. And that was the world they grew up in as young people. Donald Trump, a person like him, was not supposed to win when every single force in the media was saying reality is as such. Hillary Clinton. The cognitive dissonance caused their brains to shatter, and they lost their minds, claiming the election was stolen and that Trump worked for the Russians. You know how bad it got. But consider this now. Somebody who was 16 at the time, now 8 years later, will be voting. Well, they voted in 2020, and this was COVID, and it was crazy times. But for a lot of these people that were kids, let's talk about somebody who was 10 years old, did not vote in 2020, and will vote for the first time in 2 weeks. Their whole being, every fiber of their body has been constructed in a universe with a media apparatus screaming Donald Trump is Hitler. Actually, now they're claiming they're saying he's Stalin, Hitler, and Mussolini all at the same time. Well, hold on. That's what they said, right? Trump, Stalin. I think that's what they said. I just want to, yeah. Here we go. I love this one so much. Let me just show this real quick because this is the world we live in. Trump is speaking like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. Yes, that's right. A fascist communazi. That's where Donald Trump has graduated. He is all of them. A fascist communazi. Okay. You see, their brains are jelly. But you have to imagine somebody who writes an article that says Trump is speaking like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini ain't all with it. What could a person like that do? What will happen to their brain if in 2 weeks, Donald Trump actually wins? And it's not so much a contentious victory, but a legit victory that can't be denied. What would it be like to wake up and realize you're the baddies? Let me play this clip from Tucker Carlson's show and we'll talk about it.
Let's say Trump wins 3 weeks from today. Mm-hmm. What happens? The Democratic Party as you said, a lot of Democrats, maybe the majority, believe that Trump becoming president again is the worst thing that ever could happen. So how do they respond to that?
I say this not flippantly. I think it will be the cause of the greatest mental health crisis in the history of the country.
I agree.
I think tens of millions of people will question their connection to the nation, their connection
reality
to other human beings, their connection to their vision of what their future for them and their children could be like. And I think that will require an enormous amount of access to mental health professionals. I think it'll lead to trauma in the workplace. I think there'll be some degree of
Are you being
protest. 100% serious. 100% serious. I think there'll be alcoholism. There'll be broken marriages.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They think he's the worst person possible to be president, and having won by the hand of Jim Comey and Fluke in 2016, and then performed in office for 4 years and denied who won the election last time, and January 6th, the fact that under a fair election, America chose by the rules pre-agreed to Donald Trump again, I think it will cause the biggest mental health crisis in the history of America.
So I'll pause
I don't
there.
think it will be kind of a passing thing that by the inauguration will be fine. I think it will be sustained and unprecedented and hideous.
I'm gonna pause there and comment on the first part that he says before they continue and respond. I don't agree that they're going to need access to mental health professionals because that indicates a degree of rationality. That as an individual who says, was I wrong? What happened? I need someone to talk me through this and break things down. What is this? That's a rationality that I do not believe will exist to people who drop to their knees and scream, no. What I think is going to happen, and I believe Mark is correct, is that there will be the largest mental health crisis in history. But it's because there are so many people who live in the reality of the corporate press. And they believe fake things every single day. It's remarkable to see Joe Scarborough and Mark Cuban on Bill Maher's show. And Bill Maher says no one has a monopoly on misinformation. And Joe Scarborough's like, it's them, it's only them. It's like, well, dude, they don't understand the nature of misinformation and disinformation or whatever that means. These are people that said 51 intelligence agencies say the Hunter Biden laptop is Russian disinformation. Turned out to be completely real. I mean, that's just one example. Look at Jon Stewart on Colbert talking about the Wuhan lab leak theory for COVID. Now it's mainstream with liberals being like, yeah, that's probably what happened. You see, this happens all the time. The reasonable, discerning individual finds themselves aligned with the right because the right is willing to have those conversations. The left lives in crackpot cult Wally world. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's a guarantee that Trump's going to win. I don't know what happens. I am saying, however, if a Democrat who lives in Democrat reality wakes up to a Trump popular vote victory, which I'm not saying I believe will happen. I'm saying in the instance, which is less likely, that Donald Trump wins the Electoral College, wins the popular vote, and Republicans sweep, they're going to say, how can I be wrong about everything? They're going to say this is not possible. I watch the news every day. This is partly what happened with Hillary Clinton. The media said 99% chance she wins. Trump can't win. It's over. Trump won. He cheated. It's the only explanation. It's that he cheated, right? Well, look, Donald Trump won. The Republicans won. And for a brief period, they had great control and they did a whole lot of nothing with it. Shout out to Paul Ryan. But he had to have cheated. That's the only explanation, right? They tried to claim everything in the book. When Donald Trump lost in 2020, the Republicans said he cheated. So I wonder what happens if Democrats win this time around, too, although I don't think the right's reaction is nearly as pronounced as the left. I certainly think there were a lot of people who are making the argument that Trump actually won due to nefarious reasons, and many of them were completely unreasonable claims. I think it's fair to say that there was a shadow campaign. Ballot harvesting and ground game was tenfold on the Democrat side. And as Gallup predicted, COVID was the issue and Democrats had the edge on it. I'm telling you, man, like I told this to Steve Bannon, I know a dude who has no idea what's going on in politics. And he posted a video of himself, filming his mail-in ballot and dropping it in the mailbox saying, I'm doing my part. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. This guy doesn't know up from down. He couldn't tell you what a Supreme Court justice was. So I'm like, if you can convince that person to vote, I understand how Donald Trump can lose the count. I also believe shadow campaign played a role. There was a judicial interference, judges making rulings in states. The Constitution says the legislative body has control of the state's elections, and the Supreme Court should have heard those arguments. But I do believe it's fair to say a lot of people voted against Donald Trump, not for Joe Biden. Anyway, to today. If Republicans win a clean sweep, people's brains will burst from their skulls. There's no explanation. You can't say Trump cheated if Republicans win everything this time. You can't say that Trump's a Russian asset if Trump wins everything this time. They can, but that's part of the irrationality. They're going to have to claim that the Russians literally infiltrated government. Like they're going to have to look when they say Trump is speaking like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. Look at 2016 and what they said about Trump when he won. Multiply that by 10. They're going to say Russia and China have teamed up with, I don't know, Iran and have formed, and Trump is conspiring with BRICS to allow BRICS to take over the world. Like they're going to go nuts. They're going to make up the craziest things imaginable because their brains will be fried. They will not be able to accept what is supposed to be a plain truth to them. They say the Trump people are in a cult. They're cultists. They don't understand. I watch MSNBC. They tell me the truth. It's Trump who's the liar. You watch podcasts like this, and what am I going to tell you? Yeah, Trump lies. He lies about things like nobody leaves my rallies. Okay. And it's like, is it a lie or is it an exaggeration? I don't know. Trump is wrong about some things. He exaggerates many things. And they claim some things that aren't lies are lies. So what was a good example? Oh, Trump saying crime is way up. Crime is way up. It's through the, he's a liar. He lied about that. Well, the FBI revised their crime numbers. Crime actually was up the whole time. But they claim he lies about those things. I'm not going to sit here and claim Trump doesn't have an ego. Trump doesn't lie, because I think he does. I just think he's more generally a good dude who's going to be better off. We'll be better off in this country under a Trump presidency, like we saw in his first term. The economy was pretty good. He was working on border security, and boy, did they hate it. They wanted everything to burn that guy down. The Democrats are telling themselves right now Trump cannot win. So I just did a segment at 1 where the betting markets are showing Donald Trump winning, and they're showing a plurality of bets on a Republican sweep. That's remarkable. The Republicans take the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Daily Kos published an article from one user claiming to be a Wall Street insider who says, nah, the only explanation here is market manipulation. Okay, to be fair, he didn't say the only explanation. He said the explanation is market manipulation. They are already denying what is before their eyes. What do you think happens to a person who is telling you people are betting on Trump because they're cheating? They're going to manipulate the market to make money. That's the explanation. They're saying there's a whale. He bet a bunch of money to make it look like Trump is winning. Republicans have similar things. They're like, I think people are betting to make Kamala look like she's winning too. I don't think anybody accepts the results of the election. If Trump loses, they say Kamala cheated. If Kamala loses, they say Trump cheated. I'm just saying, I think if Republicans lose, I mean, January 6th was bad when Trump lost. Don't get me wrong. I do not think, I think the reaction from the left will be substantially worse than anything we see from the right. And I think their brains will be fried. Let me play some more from the clip.
And I don't think the country's ready for it.
So mental health crises often manifest in violence.
Yeah, I think there'll be some violence. I think there'll be workplace fights. There'll be fights at kids' birthday parties. I think there'll be protests that will turn violent. I hope they're not, but I think there will be some. But I think it'll be less anger and more a failure to understand how it could happen.
Right.
You know, like the death of a child, or your spouse announcing that your wife announcing she's a lesbian and she's leaving you for your best friend.
That's weirdly specific.
like something that's so traumatic that it is impossible for even the most mentally healthy person to truly process and incorporate into their daily life. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's what's going to happen for tens of millions of people, because they think that their fellow citizens supporting Trump is a sign of fundamental evil at the heart of their fellow citizens and of the nation.
Indeed. He's completely correct about that. But I must add, they also believe that Trump's cult is a minority that isn't very prominent, that people don't want to vote Republican. They believe that the Republicans are making it look like they're doing well, but they're losing. They're saying things like Kamala is so popular and full of joy, and look at her rallies, they're so big. They're telling themselves all these things. Now, I will say to you right now, I don't know who wins. There are people who are going to vote for Harris. I was in, what town were we passing through? We were in Shepherdstown. We went through Boonesboro. This is up in West Virginia and Western Maryland. And we see Harris Waltz signs. You go to, Martinsburg, right? Where, we hang out in Martinsburg periodically. It's relatively close to us. And I see Harris Waltz signs. This is West Virginia, but some people are going to vote for her. So me, I don't know. If Kamala Harris wins, I say, wow. That's surprising considering the odds, but I can believe that she can win. I think a lot of people need to understand that you need to get out and you need to vote. But I don't believe Democrats at large are going to be able to make those distinctions. They're going to say there is no way this country can function this way. And worse still, they're going to argue that if Trump wins the Electoral College but loses the popular vote, Lord help us, which seems to be the likely outcome. They're going to say the system is corrupt. The people of this country have spoken. They want Kamala Harris, but Trump stole it through an archaic system that makes no sense because they're not smart enough to understand why it makes sense. But more importantly, it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. It matters if they can justify their excuse for the use of power. The Electoral College makes sense. I don't come to that conclusion simply because it benefits the Republicans and I like Donald Trump. I came to that conclusion long before I supported any Republican and long before Trump even ran for office. when I was in California covering the droughts. And I saw what happens when you have a majority rule system. In Tulare County, they ran out of water. They had surface water, but the majorities in the cities voted to take the water from the rural counties. So what happens? With a drought underway, the farms have no choice. If they're going to keep farming to sustain the economy, they have to drill for groundwater. They were drilling down like 5, 10, 20,000 feet. It was nuts. I'm like, how is it even possible? You can do that? And they're pumping water up to water the crops. It causes everything to sink a little bit too, which is kind of crazy. Well, unfortunately for the poor residents of Tulare County, their wells only went 30 feet. So one day, I went to a guy's house. He turned the water on. Nothing happens. He says every day was a little bit less, and then eventually no water came out. Why? The farms had drilled so deep for groundwater that the water table had gone too low, and the home wells could not pump groundwater anymore. I went to the farms and I said, why are you drilling for groundwater? There's a canal full of water right here. And they said, quite simply, there was a vote. They voted to give all surface water to the cities. Farms aren't allowed to touch it. So the canals with that running water has to be diverted for city access, and cities get priority. It's really simple. If 13 million people live in a big city and 300,000 live in your county, you ain't winning nothing. They're going to vote. And we're going to put it this way. You have a bar, you bought a pizza. Let's say you bought a pizza and you're sitting there and you're like, oh boy, I worked really hard. I'm going to eat my pizza. And then your 3 roommates are all sitting there and they go, I think we should vote on whether or not we share that pizza. And you go, whoa. This is my pizza. I paid for it. And they go, yeah, but democracy rules, so we all vote. All in favor of sharing the pizza? And the 3 of them raise their hand, and then they walk over and they grab 75% of your pizza, leaving you with very little. Worse still, they take all of it and they say it's only fair. Now, with the Electoral College system, each individual has a differently weighted vote depending on the resources that they have. Each state gets 2 and a different amount of members of Congress. This is a weighting system to protect states. You get electoral votes based on number of senators and the number of members of Congress, which means a state like Montana or Wyoming, actually Montana might have 2. Wyoming, I think, has 1 congressional seat and 2 senators, so they get 3 votes. But hey, wait a minute. That means they get 2 extra votes based on their population size. Indeed. If Tulare County had a weighted system like this, they could resist the seizure of their assets, and they wouldn't be left poor with no water. So a better example is that in the Great Lakes region, Arizona and other arid states demanded access to Great Lakes water. They believed they should be able to pump and refine Great Lakes water and ship it around for their use. Why not? Well, the Great Lakes Coalition, fortunately, and I'm sure it's a bit more complicated than just this, but I had worked with a nonprofit that sought to protect the Great Lakes. Because Ontario is involved, it becomes an international treaty, making it much more easy to defend. But other states were making the argument that they should have access to Great Lakes water. The Great Lakes states, Illinois namely, where I was living and working, they say, we all have to work together to maintain the water levels. We have to limit the amount that can go out to make sure that more comes in so the lakes get replenished. Otherwise, they'll go down. I think in iRobot, it's set in 2035 in Chicago, and Lake Michigan has been largely drained of water because humans consume too much. Fortunately for us, each state is sovereign unto itself and has a weighted system that provides it some protection. That is to say, in a popular vote system, California, New York, and say, Chicago could vote to say, Nebraska, you give your stuff to the big cities. With the Electoral College system, sometimes and not always, you can win the popular vote but lose the election, allowing a president who is stronger among the minority states to have power temporarily. This is brilliant. It alleviates tension and allows a pressure release so that the minority doesn't grow too angry and revolt. Because if you have a sustained system where 49% of the country never gets what they want, ever, they have their resources taken from them and thrust upon them a worldview of people who live in cities. Eventually, they civil war. Well, we don't want that to happen. So there's got to be a functional give and take. I think the Electoral College makes quite a bit of sense. That being said, I pitched my case for the Electoral College. But the Democrats don't understand any of this. They don't care. They say majority rules, so shut up. Red states should sit down and shut up because we're in charge. That's a bad idea. It's a very bad idea. I will stress, I don't believe it's actually fair to say that the Democrat states are in charge. They have extra electoral votes based on illegal immigrant populations, which I would say is cheating. So if you're going to play the game is just this. Can you win power? Do you know how to do it? If you can, good luck. If not, you'll be ruled by your betters. And what do I mean by betters? The people who know how to win. So Donald Trump And all of his supporters can sit there and say, we won the election in 2020. You can say that all you want. I say Joe Biden wins in 2020 for one reason. He was in the White House. If you think winning an election is getting a bunch of pieces of paper and then being like, look, I got more than him. Yeah, that's very naive. Congratulations. You're not playing the same game. Democrats are sitting down being like, how do we get inaugurated? What are the rules? The rules are if you can get the power, it's yours. Let me offer you up one more thing. What do you think would happen if all of the counties came out and said Donald Trump has won and the true electoral count showed Donald Trump with 312? He crushes Kamala Harris, but then every single media outlet reports Kamala Harris won 312, Trump lost. What happens then? If every single media outlet reports that Kamala Harris wins, it doesn't matter what's true. Kamala Harris wins. And you might argue, no, Trump won. They're cheating. The issue is the American population will just say, well, the media said it. I guess she won. If the New York Times prints front page, Kamala wins. If the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and all these other newspapers all simultaneously say Kamala Harris wins, she does. It doesn't matter who gets the election. It matters what the media says to the people. That's a scary reality, isn't it? So I tell you this, as the man says, mental health crisis is coming. Indeed, I agree. He is correct. I hope you were all prepared. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all then. Oh, yeah, follow me on X and Instagram and all that good stuff. Become a member at timcast.com. Leave us a good review on the audio podcast. If you're listening, it really does help. And then we'll see you on the next segment.